if that's okay with everybody.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, we're being recorded. Can I ask you to go on mute if you're not speaking, just so we can keep the connections up, and obviously wave your virtual hand or your real hand if you want to say something. Welcome everybody. Particular welcome as a new member of this committee is Bjorn. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, good afternoon all. Thank you very much for having me. I'm just to give you a vague idea, I'm Andreas as a replacement, for better or worse. So I will represent St. Joseph's, the Catholic Church in Oakham. I'm German, however, have been here in the country for 15, 16 years. First as a German teacher, then as a German and philosophy teacher, and now I'm teaching philosophy in RE in Leicester, Crown Hills Community College. So yeah, and here I am. Thank you.
Welcome. Would everyone just like to briefly introduce themselves to Bjorn, starting with Andrew?
Hi Bjorn, we've already said hello actually.
Oh right, okay.
But yeah, right.
Lucy?
Oh, hello, I'm Lucy Stevenson. I'm a county councillor representing Uppingham, and I'm also deputy leader of the council at the moment.
Thank you. Peter?
He's on mute.
Mute button.
Apologies for that. I'm Peter Holmes and I represent the Diocese of Peterborough.
Thank you. Welcome, Gerdev. Bjorn has just introduced himself as the new Catholic representative replacing Andreas. Would you like to just introduce yourself to him?
Certainly. Hello, Bjorn. Hello, everybody. I'm Gurdev Singh. I represent the Sikh community.
Thank you. And Lizzie?
Hi, I'm the service manager for learning and skills at Rutland County Council.
And Amanda, who's just walked out of her, just disappeared. And Amanda, suddenly back.
Sorry, Amazon just arrived. Oh, sorry. I'm not going to be hi Bjorn, I'm Amanda Fitton. I'm the RE advisor for Rutland, Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, and I actually went for an interview at Crown Hills for a job a long time ago, so I know the school, and I used to work at New College in I used to be the head of humanities at New College in Leicester.
Thank you. I think if it's okay, everyone, like to record our thanks to Andreas for his time on Sacre, which I think was about 10 years. He did send an email earlier, which I will circulate, and he very positively set out all that he thought that the Sacre had achieved, and was in a much better shape than when he actually became a member of this committee 10 years ago, and also recorded his thanks to Councillor Gail Waller, who was a previous chairman, for the work she did on actually increasing the profile and working a lot more close, with the local authority on that. So if we can record thanks to him, and I will circulate his email to, or Stacey, could you circulate his email to the committee members as well? Thank you. And okay, so if we start on the agenda proper, we'll start with a moment for reflection. We gather together here today, intent on doing good work. We seek to represent fairly and well those who have given us this task. May our efforts be blessed with insight, guided by understanding and wisdom. We seek to serve with respect for all. May our personal beliefs give us strength to act honestly and well in all matters before us. Thank you, everyone. Bjorn, I actually didn't introduce myself, did I? I'm Rosemary Powell. I'm a councillor at Rutland County Council and the chair of this committee. Apologies for that. Next up on the agenda is apologies. Stacey.
Yes, I received apologies from Rhoda Gibson and Andreas Menzies, chair. And also, if I may, Chair, Andrew Hull has asked if he could just mention something in the just before you start the meeting, if that would be okay with you.
Okay. Yes, that's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, yes, this is a personal comment, really. Not long after the last meeting, my wife died suddenly, totally unexpectedly, and in consequence, I'm still not 100% with it. I didn't do all the homework I should have done for this meeting. I've tried to catch up in the last few days, and after a long and happy relationship, I'm sort of slightly lost, right?
Oh,
That's it.
Andrew, so sorry to hear that. So sorry. And very that you can actually be on a Zoom meeting and actually speak about it is
Well, I
very
need to
brave,
do something.
actually.
I need to do something.
Yes. Well, you know, you're a great asset to this committee, and we're really pleased to see you here today in those circumstances. So thank you for, you know, all your contributions, and I know you can continue to contribute, but yeah, I'm so sorry to hear that. Thank you for sharing that with us as a group as well. Much appreciate that as well. Okay, thank you. We've done the apologies, and election of vice chair was the next item on the agenda, which we deferred from last time, and I would like to propose that Lucy Stevenson becomes the vice chair. Would anyone be prepared to second that or have an alternative nomination? Andrew, are you seconding?
Second.
Thank you. Any other? Lucy's. I did check with Lucy that she was happy with that. Everyone, anyone, any other nominations or no? Everyone in favour of that? Could you just put up your hand? That'd be great. Okay, thank you very much, and thank you, Lucy. Next item is the record of the meeting on the 12th of October. For everyone who was here, is everybody happy with the minutes of that meeting? Am I getting some nods?
Yeah.
Can I propose that we actually confirm those minutes as a true record? Could you put your hand up if you're in agreement, please? Just to, yeah. Thank you. Is that okay, Stacey?
I'm abstaining, Chair, because I wasn't there.
Thank you. The only action that I've picked up from that meeting was the fact that we circulated the annual report, which went to the Children's Scrutiny Committee at Rutland County Council and the portfolio holder, and has also been published on the website and went to the National Association and the DFE, I think, was the list of people it went to. And I did ask the council members to sort of share that more widely as well. Was there any other actions that anyone noticed from those minutes that I haven't picked up on? No? Okay. Right. Next item is the update on the agreed syllabus conference from Gurdev and Amanda. Both of you, one of you, which one first?
Best if Amanda leads.
Thank you, Gurdev. Yeah, and Gurdev, feel free to interject when you think you need to. I think so I'm just thinking back when last time we saw actually what Octoberish time, and at that point we were putting in, Gurdev was a representative for Rutland, and we were putting together a business plan to Jonathan Lewis, and we did that actually. We went back and forth and we wrote this beautiful plan for him, and he agreed the money in, he agreed to actually cover the money to cover the cover it all in early December, and he agreed a final amount, and I'm just looking through, of just over £20,000. That also covers a launch and everything in it. So he's actually underwriting that amount for us, which was great.
Sorry, Amanda, just for clarity, can you confirm his position and what that 20,000 actually encompasses as far as
Yes,
Rutland
as
share,
far as I
etc.
can. I can't share, unfortunately, I can't share the whole document with you because it's a CCC internal document. Rosemary has seen it because she needed to see it, because she needed to actually secure the funding from Rutland, but unfortunately it's an internal document and we can't share it. But I can share you some of the details I can give you. Jonathan Lewis is the Director of Education for both Peterborough and Cambridgeshire, and he's the one that holds the purse strings for education. And also, because of when you do an agreed syllabus, you have to go and ask permission from the LA, and he is the person that we went and asked to actually start the process. So he is the one that actually who did that. So what we went for, we put together a business plan. It was a very detailed business plan. We put in from the scenarios after talking to Sacre, in all the Sacres in October, we agreed that actually we wanted to go forward with one of our own, but we also put to him the other scenarios that were discussed as well. And we actually looked at how much they were going to cost, and actually funding it the way we're doing now by looking at our own syllabus and joining together was actually the cheapest way to do it, apart from doing nothing, which legally we can't do. We have to do something on this. So we put together a plan of the monies that we felt we needed to cover teacher, so actually we can have teachers out, so we're going to be covering some teachers' expenses to come out and work with us. Sacre expenses, a website, so we can actually have a proper website with the agreed syllabus on there, so we can put resources and everything, so it's actually funding that. It was actually funding meetings, and it's also funding a proper launch for this, which will then bring money back in, because obviously no launch in these day and age actually can be free of charge. Have I missed anything, Gerda?
Just a clarification behind whether or not Jonathan expects any other local authority to contribute.
Yes, he did. And so actually, yes, he does. And we actually then worked out we looked together how many schools each LA had, and we worked out a percentage of those schools. And if you just bear with me, I'll find you the percentage. It was quite a long document, and it was Cambridgeshire are paying 73% of the total bill, Peterborough are paying 21%, and Rutland will be paying 6% of the costs. And actually what I'm in the middle of trying to do now is an SLA, which is a service-led agreement. I don't normally do these, but the person who actually I need to talk to is off sick until next week. He's been quite poorly, so that hasn't quite been arranged yet. Anything else, Gerda? That was a very quick whiz through.
So I read that as being, if Rutland agrees, 6% of circa 20,000 is about £1,200 is the commitment required for it to proceed with Peterborough and Cambridgeshire.
And if I ask Lizzie, you have actually contacted Jill Curtis, haven't you? And she has agreed to fund that.
Yeah, it's been agreed.
Yeah.
The budget has been put aside.
So compared to actually buying in a syllabus, actually, Rutland's £1,200 is actually quite small to actually how much it would have been if they brought in a syllabus. So it is actually a lot better value for the county council to do that. So that's already been agreed. We've got the money going through. We then had another meeting. We had a meeting on the first meeting on the 16th of December, having actually had all the monies forward and being able to go forward it. So the first thing we did, and hopefully you've got a copy of this, the kind of an update. We elected a chair, because that was really important, and a joint chair was elected of Julia Ewins and Sacre Manji. Julia is the chair of Cambridgeshire and Sacre is the chair of Peterborough. They've all done agreed syllabus before, and they are very, but actually it's quite nice to have a joint chair, because you've got kind of two people to work with at the top, and actually if one can't do a meeting, then the other one can. So the business plan was explained, and it was explained to everybody that actually, again, as I've said, because it's a CCC internal document, it can't necessarily be shared as a public document. As we said before, we did go to West Northamptonshire or North Northamptonshire LAs. The LAs, actually education is looked after, the whole of Northamptonshire is looked after by West Northamptonshire. They declined to join the Agreed Syllabus Conference. We did do a separate document for them to show actually how much their contribution would be. But again, they decided to actually, they're going to go and do their own thing. Not a lot we can do. We're putting together a term of reference. Julia and Sacre are busy doing that at the moment. And at the next meeting, which is on the 26th of January, there'll be a term of reference, which all the LAs will work under, because we thought that was really important, so everybody knows what commitments and everything they're making. What we're also setting up is something called Team Sites Owners, and hopefully we will have one of these for the next meeting. Team Sites Owners are our own team sites where we can actually keep all the documents, so all the documents that you need to share with those the organisations that you represent will be on there for you to read. So every Sacre member in Peterborough, Cambridgeshire and Rutland will have access to this particular kind of cloud team site. It's called Team Sites Owners, like a cloud, and all the documents will be on there. You'll be given the link to it. What you won't be in is only myself and my clerk Laura who will actually have access to the actual of actually unlocking it and allowing people access to live documents, to actually change documents. This, we felt this was really important because it cuts down on admin. And it's also, then if people say, no, we haven't actually looked at anything, or we haven't received anything, it's on there, all the documents, everything will be on there for you to watch. So all the minutes, all the agendas, all the draft documents will be on this site for you to look at. And what we will also do is make sure that you have like an easy to read guide or manual to the site. It is really easy and really efficient, and it's something that actually us as Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Sacres, we're actually doing this for our Sacres, so all the documents are easily accessible to everybody. We're then putting a plan to go forward, and myself, Sacre and Julia have put a plan to go forward. It also comes into that we've actually set all the calendar meetings up until July, and against these we have put kind of a draft ideas of what each meeting should be focusing on. So the next meeting actually at the end of January is going to be focusing on actually the agreed syllabus, what needs to be kept, what needs to be, what doesn't need working on, what needs to be reviewed and what needs to go, and actually who will start to do that. My role is going to be working on in the next few months, and I've already got a school set up for this, which actually came out as part of their Ofsted, which they had a deep dive in RE, is actually I'm going to start looking at the assessment documents and look at knowledge and look at actually how, because we get lots of questions about how they can show what knowledge is needed in RE. So I'm going to be working on that for one particular school, and if there's another school within Rutland who'd like to join us, that would be really great. And then what we need to do as well, there'll be a list of members going out to all the agreed syllabus, but we do need an extra body from Rutland to sit on there. That's a real whiz through for the last meeting. Any questions? And Gerda, do you want to say anything?
No, all I was going to do, Amanda, so I think you just asked two questions towards the end. If you perhaps just reiterate those two questions.
Yep.
So that's the original, that's the immediate ask.
Oh, the original question. Okay, the team, I must say, okay, so on the original document, sorry.
No, you just asked two questions. You want?
Yes, I did ask you a question. We need somebody, I need another body to join Gerdiv on the agreed syllabus conference, and then that gives Rutland really good representation. And also we actually, yeah, any questions and anything else you want to ask me?
So sorry, just for clarity then, are we expected to send two representatives then? Because I thought I did a list. I will send it out to you. I need to review it as well. We could really do with just somebody else on there as well. On an agreed syllabus, each committee has to be there has to be a representative from each committee on the agreed syllabus, so it's a fair, so it represents the Sacres, and I'm saying Sacres because obviously it's not fair, otherwise the meetings get too big. So really you could do with somebody from Rutland, just actually to make sure the interest, so if Gerdiv can't be there as well,
the interests of Rutland are being actually addressed in each of the meetings.
Okay. Peter, you have your hand up.
There are two things I'd like to say, if I may, at this point. I don't know if this is the appropriate point to tell you, as a representative of the Board of Education of Diocese of Peterborough, their views on the agreed syllabus.
It would be really interesting, because we're right at the start of this. It's
Right.
easier to have views at the start,
Yes, quite.
than halfway through, and then
Well,
actually end up actually in a perhaps actually a loggerhead on what is actually where we've got
Yes.
to, and lots of work been going ahead.
Is that okay, Chair, if I...
Yeah, could we maybe just first of all ask that specific question then? Is there anyone else who would be happy to be a representative on the agreed syllabus conference? Oh, you would?
Yes.
That would be great. Is there anybody else? Is everyone happy for Peter to do that?
Or anybody
That'll be-
else? I'm happy to have 3.
Right. No, that'll be great, Peter.
Fine,
I'm
fine.
sure that would be fantastic. You and Gerda representing that.
Okay with-
Brilliant. Okay.
It's okay with everybody else. If we occasionally, if we could come back to you and actually, because I'm just looking beyond you're there, and I know you're the Catholic representative, but you're also a teacher, a secondary teacher, and we're quite short on secondary teachers. So occasionally, if it's okay with you, if we can run some things past you, that would be really, really helpful. And I'm also happy to send you, you're probably a bit wondering what's going on. An agreed syllabus, I'm just wondering actually, as you know, RE is locally agreed, and every 5 years we have to review it, and it's come to that situation now, and it takes about 18 months for us to review it, and that's where we are at the moment.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Amanda, are there any other decisions or support specifically you need from this Sacre meeting tonight on the agreed syllabus?
I think it's just, is everybody happy with how it's looking at the moment? That we are making, we're very working out what we need to do, where we need to go from here. But each meeting will have a very specific idea of what it needs to look like and where we go from here. And obviously there's the meetings there, and we will publish those meetings, and we're quite happy, you know, if somebody feels that they'd like to be there, please come and join us. It's not a closed society or anything like that. It's meant to be a very open meeting, and that everybody's happy with us using the Teams site owners, so you can see all the documents and that there's transparency on there. That was some of the idea of using Teams owners site, is actually that every member has the transparency of what is going on and what is agreed and what was agreed in the minutes.
Okay, so you will circulate the dates of the meeting and any links then?
Yes, I will do.
Stacey to this committee, so people can listen in. Okay, good. Did you have your hand up, or did you?
It was exactly your very last point.
Okay. All right. Okay.
If it's okay, Stacey, I will get Laura, to my clerk Laura, to link up with you and to send everything over to you. Okay,
thank you. Peter.
Thank you.
So have you got some comments on?
Yes, I have from Diocese of Peterborough Board of Education.
Okay, and
on so far what's happened.
Okay.
In our last meeting, the minutes of that suggest from section 8, first paragraph there, that it was reported that they would be using the current syllabus to go forward and build on that. And I've been asked to tell you that the Diocesan Board of Education feels that the current LA syllabus is not fit for purpose. It does not address what the Ofsted RE review for Richard Cuey, HMI, outlined as needed for good RE, nor does it have the support materials that schools so need as a base from which to build their curriculum. Now, the document then goes on from there, but that's the essence of it. If you would like me to circulate via the clerk the document to everybody, I'm happy to do that.
Yes, please, that would be really helpful.
That would be useful. Okay, so that's so how will the agreed syllabus conference proceed with taking into account that?
Well, we are already, because yes, we are going to use, we're not going to throw away, it's ridiculous to throw away the syllabus at the moment. And what we have done, and I have started looking through this, so you know, the legalese part at the beginning of the syllabus, that doesn't change, that stays. And what I have gone through, and which will go out to everybody in the Agreed Syllabus Conference in the next week or so, is I've gone through and I've highlighted what I feel needs reviewing, needs changing, and what needs happening. And actually, in part of what we've spoken about, and Gerdiv will agree with this, we are saying, yes, we have got to think about what, yes, we are going to be thinking about worldviews, Ofsted, and actually Ofsted. And actually, we have gone back to teachers to ask what they need, and they need exemplars. They don't, what we feel as though actually they don't need units of total units of work, because all schools are different, and schools should be planning their RE around their pupils' needs, not what is in a syllabus and what is written down. And I will put this on here because I'm actually, it's not your fault, Peter, so I'm not blaming you or anything. To say it's not fit for purpose, I find that quite harsh, because I would disagree. I would say actually what the diocese has got in place is also not fit for purpose. I'm sorry, I will be harsh on that, and I will be quite.
Well, there seems to be a lot of not fit for purpose.
Yeah.
I'm more interested in being involved in what is fit for purpose, and I'm representing the diocese's views to you, and I will circulate those. And they do make suggestions about what they think should be done.
Could you send those over? Because also it has to be, if you could go back to the diocese and say, we have had a number of Ofsteds in Cambridgeshire and Peterborough over the last 18 months, and actually they have all said that actually RE is actually, we had a deep dive in RE in a community school recently, and none of this was picked up by Ofsted. So I would, you know, I think they're being a bit picky there. But I know, I think Gerda.
Okay, can Gerda wants to actually come in there, and there was also a question from Bjorn on the chat. So Gerda.
Could I just ask them, perhaps we just acknowledge receipt of the message from the diocese that it's now going to be part of what the agreed syllabus picks up, and that we will then respond in due course as it progresses. And if we have as a second action, when we progressed it, to formally report back what the changes are, picking up Peter's point about, it's more important about what is fit for purpose going forwards rather than an opinion on what's happened in the past.
Absolutely. No, thank you for that. Yeah. Okay, so we'll acknowledge we've received that, and then waiting for further discussions at the conference in terms of the next steps and where you go with that. The question for Bjorn is about all key stages. So as far as I'm aware, it does, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yes,
yeah,
it does.
yeah.
It covers everything. And the only thing it doesn't cover is reception, because actually under the law and the remit of Sacre, early years doesn't come under Sacre's remits. But yes, it goes up to Key Stage 5 with recommendations for Key Stage 5, and obviously throughout. And obviously all our recommendations are that actually that all pupils should receive RE up until year 11 and beyond.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, James.
Hello, the gremlins seem to be attacking me at the moment, so I'm very sorry for being late.
That's okay. You're very welcome. Yeah.
Thank you. It's been out of my hands, but I'm very pleased.
I'm glad you made it in the end. Megan.
Yeah, I just wanted to check. Am I right in thinking that the whatever syllabus is agreed by Sacre, academies do not have to follow that? Am I right with that, Amanda? Or is that because I'm aware we sit halfway between, we're an academy, we're a diocesan church school, we're Peterborough Diocese Church School, and then we've got Sacre as well. So where do we sit as schools?
Right, an academy, a straightforward academy, actually has to follow a syllabus. It is advised that they follow the locally agreed syllabus, but if they want to, they can go and follow one from Manchester if they like. That's just totally off the top of my head, but it is agreed. So that's all academies, and they say you have to follow one. And a syllabus is different from actually what is not a body of work, a bit like Understanding Christianity or the Emmanuel Project. Okay, so you have to follow on there. So it is very much there. Were you a VC school or a VA school before you became an academy?
VC.
VC, so it will be in your agreement, it will be in your academy agreement, so that's still there. So you should be following the agreed syllabus even as a VC school, because it somehow with church schools it follows through from what you were before, if that makes sense.
So that means we have to follow the
Locally agreed, the locally agreed syllabus. Yes, because really the diocese syllabus is actually the locally agreed syllabus always supersedes the diocese syllabus.
Thank you.
Gurdev, do you want to come in there?
Yeah, I was just wondering, that particular question and answer is probably useful for other schools as well.
Yeah,
I wonder whether it should be a note going out to all the Sacres just for information.
Yeah, luckily I did a governor's briefing yesterday, so I had to gen up on it again yesterday, and I said to governors yesterday, it's so complicated, it's so much easier with all the other subjects, because you either follow the national curriculum, you do PE, you follow the PSHE curriculum, where with RE is the only one where actually you have to, sorry, that's my,
I'm just wondering whether it's a note circulated for group.
Yeah, and what I will also do is, because also Ofsted also will inspect different areas as well, and depends what type of school you are as to the type of Ofsted inspection. I can put that together over the coming weeks and have that circulated if that helps.
So can you do sort of like a table that
yeah,
to inform this Sacre and to make sure schools are clear as well?
Yes, I've got it on a PowerPoint. That I've been using, so I can transfer the information quite easily over.
Yeah. And can that then go out to schools as well as this?
I'd rather check it with Lizzie and Jill, that they're happy for that to go through as well, just to make it sure it's correct as well, and they're happy with the correctness of it, just in case I've got something wrong before it goes.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just paranoid about people saying no, you've got it wrong, because you have to really kind of like search for the information. You have to go into about 3 different government documents to find all the information. It's not necessarily the easiest.
And can that information be circulated to members of this committee as well? Because I think certainly, it's fundamental when we're talking about the locally agreed syllabus and who it actually applies to.
It is.
I'm aware that a little bit the schools in Rutland, because we come under the Diocese of Peterborough, and so we have things recommended by the diocese. And then we have things recommended by Sacre. We are kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. If I'm honest, that's how it feels a little bit, while people can't agree.
Yeah, and I think I agree with that. And this is some of the problem with, actually, it is a problem with RE and how the legislation, unfortunately, is so outdated. It hasn't caught up with times, and it hasn't caught up with what is going on out there. So yeah, I totally agree, Megan. And like this, I find lots of the time I'm always asking what type of schools they are. When I'm looking at anything, I immediately have to go in and find, are they an academy? Are they an LA school? Are they a VC school or a VA school? And I'm constantly checking that myself, just to make sure I know I give the right advice to that school. Because
so Megan, can I just so at the moment, apart from being stuck in the middle, do you sort of make your own, what are you following?
So currently, I'm part of the Rutland Learning Trust. So we have put together a curriculum that follows mostly the diocese. So it brings together some of the things from the Northampton, the very old Growing Together, some of the best things that we found from that, some things from the new agreed syllabus, and some from Understanding Christianity. And we have created between those together. So and therefore I know that that's a large number of the primary schools in Rutland are following that. That's something that we've worked on together as RE leads, and I think Amanda's seen some of that. Because it's something that I've been quite heavily involved alongside. Whissendine.
So you're drawing the best out of the various options that you feel best delivers that to children. Okay.
And unfortunately, there is never any. I think any syllabus never is ever going to be perfect, because of actually all the different children, the different needs of our schools, and the different areas that we cover. It's never going to be perfect, and this is why schools actually need to look at their curriculums and work out what they want, and take the advice and actually use the documents that are there. And it is also one, I think I'm very adamant that actually we shouldn't be putting, with 5 years and what the changes over the last 5 years since 2018 have been enormous in RE and what is expected to actually be teaching, and the teaching and the changes in our society as well, and that has to reflect it. And this is why sometimes a syllabus, a flexible syllabus, is really important, because of our changing needs and actually the changing issues in education as well.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else to be from anybody on the agreed syllabus, conference and progress? Okay, so it sounds like you're doing a lot of work is going on that, and it seems to be on track. So we look forward to hearing the next report, and obviously the outcome of discussions with the Diocese of Peterborough and how that is resolved and progressed.
Yeah, Peter, if you could send that over, that would be really important. If I could have it sooner rather than later, sorry, not to hassle you, but then I can digest it, and I can perhaps look at it with Lizzie and the line manager of Peterborough, because actually it's my line manager in Peterborough, Nick Beach, that I'll need to discuss that with as well, to see actually how it fits in with kind of the educational philosophies as well. That'd be brilliant.
I will certainly do that tomorrow.
Thank you, Peter. That's been very kind. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda, we've got the self-evaluation toolkit, which I thought was probably worth having a look at and doing a section of it, just to sort of look at how we're functioning as a Sacre. What evidence do we have to show how we're functioning, and to just hopefully be able to, if there's things coming out of that, to be able to feed into the development plan or any training. Now, I don't know if everyone's had a chance to look at it, but what I'd like to do is to just go through, I suggested we just went through section 1 and had a sort of quick look at that together, and just a discussion about it for, I don't know, quarter of an hour, 20 minutes, just to and see if this is a useful thing to do. I thought it was actually, it's always, I think it's quite hard to do a self-evaluation, but I think it's worth us having a go. So has everyone got this in front of them? Yeah. So the first section number 1, was on management of the Sacre and partnership with local authority and other key stakeholders. And the first one was how well supported, which is 1A, how well supported and resourced is Sacre by the LA exercising its statutory responsibilities. And under each of these, there's sort of 4 categories: either requires improvement, it's developing, it's established, or it's advanced. And it gives some sort of indication under each of those. And also, which I think is often the quite challenging thing, is how do we might have an opinion on what type of Sacre we are, but what evidence do we have to support it? So just looking at this first one, I had a look at that, and I do feel that actually, obviously I'm a representative of the local authority, that we are sort of pretty well integrated with represented by the local authority. We have got a subject specialist, keeping in touch with national developments, and representatives of the local authority attend meetings as well as officers, and we have access to funds, which we've just sort of seen as part of the budget for the conference. And also we have support from Stacey at the moment from the governance team. Which I thought actually put us in an advanced practice with evidence from our meetings. Does anyone have a view? Or where else would we see what that might be? Peter?
I've been trying to argue for the last 2 or 3 years that we need a budget published in that category.
I have asked, and I know I have asked the question before, and we did actually have some information which came about from freedom of information request from the national organisation as to what the budget is. I think, so we did get that information. I think it's a good idea to have it on a regular basis. Obviously, part of it is staff time and, you know, the contribution towards the clerking costs, which is based on the time and the staff, the amount of time somebody, you know, governance teams spend and the amount of time Lizzie actually spends. But I think I agree with you. I think that'd be a good idea to have that on an annual basis. Somebody put, Lizzie, was that you put your hand up? Somebody did. Yes. Sorry, people are jumping around my screen.
Okay, yeah, I've got a breakdown of the budget, so I can distribute that or send it to you, Rosemary, so you've got all that information.
Okay, I mean, I think it would be quite good to have that at a regular time. And I know the budgets for the council have just, you know, in the process of being agreed for next year. So this meeting at this time of year would be an appropriate time to have that, I presume. Yeah, if you could, and then we could, and perhaps stating governance, that's an annual thing to have on the January meeting of each Sacre, the budget for the next year. I think that would be useful. Lucy.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I had this on, when I looked through that, I went for established.
Right.
And I couldn't work out whether that was me naturally just being sort of, oh, well, I'm sure there's room for improvement. It just felt a bit
there's always room for improvement.
We're already gold plated. The only thing that's occurred to me, and apologies, I've only read this once, so if it's not hugely detailed, when did we last go to full council or scrutiny? Because I think in terms of that partnership, it would be really good to see all members involved, even if it's just a sort of, you're making an announcement at full council. And I genuinely can't remember the answer to that question. I know that we've got that in our governance process, but I just think that might, I wasn't sure if that was one to push us up into the advanced category.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I did, when we circulated the annual report to scrutiny, and I think I mentioned in full council that we've done it, but I think that, yeah, I would agree, upping it in terms of the council and a statement of the Sacre responsibilities and what we're actually doing at full council.
Yeah, and I think a couple of years ago, we actually had some young people who came to a scrutiny meeting, but I appreciate that's at the sort of, you know, the agenda setting is at the behest of that particular panel's chair. But I just think sort of, I still think there are some members who read religious education and they think that it's about dogma and doctrine as opposed to a more philosophical discussion about faith and that sort of thing. I still think there's that little, oh, we're teaching everybody how to, you know, pray, which it isn't that.
And also not totally aware of actually what the local authorities' responsibilities are.
Yeah, and I just think it's really pertinent at the moment that as we're talking about the sort of mental health agenda and that sort of thing, for members to appreciate there's a very strong, robust curriculum delivery in this area absolutely helps with that agenda. So maybe just a bit of awareness raising.
Okay. Anyone else?
I have a simple question.
Yeah.
But obviously we've got people like Lucy on this group. Have any of the other councillors ever said anything about Sacre? Question mark.
Not generally, no. Apart from when it comes to talking about representatives on this committee.
Yes, and I think sorry, Rosemary.
No, carry on.
I think the comments that I've just captured with some members not appreciating the difference between philosophy, ethics and the role of faith, etc., or not, etc., and that sort of confusion with sort of dogma and doctrine, I think that sort of comment has come out at full council, but I really wouldn't like to put a year on it.
Right.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay, so are we happy? There's always room for improvement. Are we happy to say we're established then in this? I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
and I think that's doing this type of thing, I think, is really good in pulling out those other things that we could do. And the evidence that we have for that is, well, we will, yeah, I suppose, budget and reports to scrutiny and full council, and we'll work on actually having a bit more impact on that. The next section is about Sacre meetings. How purposeful, inclusive, representative and effective are Sacre meetings? I think we have a
Councillor
good
Powell.
representation, people. James.
Could I just, I'm looking at the Sacre website here, using the link that was just sent to me, and I can't actually make out what you're looking at. I don't know whether anybody can help me with this.
It's not a straightforward site. You have to fiddle about. I've got the whole lot now downloaded and can fiddle about to every section. But
isn't it in the papers?
It's in the papers, yeah.
Yeah, but you then have to link into to get the detailed bits of the document.
Oh, I've been
you know, just do it from that site. But
no, I think if you
page 13
Sorry.
of the papers, I think, is in it. And that, in which case, and I'm going to have to confess, Chair, I've read those papers, but I didn't go onto the link.
Oh, I looked at the whole document, the whole lot, the whole evaluation
okay,
kit.
just for clarification, have you got the agenda reports pack for this meeting, James?
Yes, I've just got them. So I'm going right down to the bottom of the page.
Yeah. It's in there.
Oh, is it agreed syllabus conference? Is it that one?
No.
Agenda item 6. Ah, self-assessment. Okay,
Yeah.
yes, I see where it is. Sorry.
We're on section
was
1,
looking-
section 1B about meetings. Would anybody I say I think we have a good representation from different faiths and organizations. We have actually one thing I mentioned there, we have been trying to follow up with the we had a request from Jewish representative. There's somebody who would like to join the committee but we already do have a representative from the Jewish community, but who hasn't been to a meeting for a while, and we haven't got an answer from her yet. Is that right, Stacey? I don't know if anybody has any contacts with Arga Khan or knows. Amanda, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I because she sits on Cambridgeshire as well, and actually I'll chase through to her with so actually I haven't heard from Arga for a while, and I'll chase through with Laura, my clerk there,
Okay, thank you.
to see actually what's happened. Can I suggest that actually if you have somebody from the Jewish community within Rutland, probably best to say yes, come along, because at least they are local, they understand Rutland, and they'll actually understand the Jewish community within Rutland.
Yeah, absolutely. But I wanted to check with her first, as she's actually listed as the representative.
Yeah,
where,
I'm sure Arga, knowing Arga very well, she'd be more than happy to actually, because she's very busy in the synagogue in Cambridge. I know I'll check with her and get back to you.
Can you actually check with her first?
Yeah, but I'm sure she'd be happy.
Else.
Yeah, I'm sure she'd be happy for somebody else to come in.
Could you ask her to just drop Stacey on me a line?
Yeah,
Thank
no
you.
problem. I'll CC everybody into it, and then everything's clear as well.
Well, no, if you can just contact her directly and then let Stacey and I know, and then we can circulate it.
No problem. I'll contact her tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Okay, so it's about good attendance, about quorate meetings, distributing papers in advance, opportunities for teachers to share, and strong contribution. So I don't know. Again, I think I initially went for established. What does anyone else have a view? Peter.
Well, I agree with you. We're in the established bracket there. I was sad that we don't have more teacher representatives on Sacre, but I understand why that might be. I think if we had more teacher representatives, we could probably call ourselves in the advanced section, but at the moment, I don't think we can.
Okay, and the evidence for that is obviously in our minutes and yeah, records of the meeting. I think it's probably something that I know I said I'd sort of look at is actually, you know, the list of representatives, and you know, like the you know, to see if there's anyone else we could actually attract, and obviously if there's anyone got any ideas. And it's really good to have Bjorn on board as well, and any ideas about other teacher representatives and who might want to get involved as well. But we have got some, so which is a great contribution. So okay, anything else on that one, or any other improvements that people feel that could be made?
Oh, sorry, can I just say, guys, we have got Marianne, who's on down here as well.
She's here.
She's just saying her internet's dropping out, but she's joined us from Oakham Primary.
Yeah.
I've worked, I know Megan knows Marianne as well, very well.
Yeah.
And I've worked with actually Marianne since actually I've been on Rutland Sacre, so she is a well experienced teacher within the community.
Okay. Right. Andrew, you've got your hand up.
Out of interest, is there an intention to look at the other sections of the self-evaluation toolkit at some time?
What, number 2 onwards?
Yeah, I sort of had a quick flick through, and I must admit, section 4 on collective worship gave me a shock. I didn't realise that there was a responsibility which I find a bit out of date, but there you are. That's just a comment.
Okay.
Peter will probably know what I'm
we-
talking about. Peter, I'm sure will know what I'm talking about.
Yes, yes, I do know what you're talking about. I won't go into it, but it's a historical anomaly from the 1944 Education Act.
Okay. Yes, it is. I thought if we did section 1 today, and then we can take the other sections at other meetings. And perhaps maybe we go straight to section 4 then to talk about anomalies at the next meeting.
I think going back to meaningful discussions and meetings, I think, and obviously this would move us from the established into the advanced. I think, and you've probably covered this already, but points that arise out of work that we do in monitoring standards in RE and collective worship, I think will probably in the future form part of our meetings for discussion on Sacre. Would you agree? Can you hear me?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm not quite clear what you meant.
Sorry. With the points that we were discussing under this particular section was the participation of members in these meetings, in open discussions, and sort of moving from established into advanced would seem to indicate that meetings would have quite lively discussions and quite wide-ranging discussions on aspects. Yeah. And I was just saying that I think that topics for debate and discussion would normally, probably naturally arise out of work that is presented to the Sacre meetings for discussion. For example, in monitoring standards and points that might be put to us to discuss.
Okay.
Yeah.
To perhaps have some more specific discussion topics. I know we have had some in terms of, we had that discussion about worldviews,
we did,
for instance.
Yes.
So those type of topics. Okay. The next 1C is pretty similar in a way. The first 1B was about effectiveness of meetings 1C is about membership, which we actually have already. To what extent is the membership able to fulfill Sacre's purpose? So it's about an active membership, diversity of views, training and induction for new members, and members participating in training activities. I don't know how much or what people have participated in as a member of this Sacre. I think, and whether we do have a diversity of representatives, whether we would be seeking more diversity. I don't know what, has anyone got a thought on that? Which would put us in the, possibly put us in the, well, perhaps developing it. So I'm not sure the training for Sacre members, I think we haven't, we've linked into the some national training, but I'm not sure that we've necessarily done any more than that. Gerdef, did you want to?
Yeah, if I may. So my view on the question around the diversity has always been, we should be representative of the community we support. So by inference, we should be saying, this is the mix of the community, we're representing X proportion, we think, as a result of the membership. And if the gap is significant enough, we actively seek to bridge the gap. Or if it's not significant enough, we're choosing not to, which is fine. And we've addressed the question then.
Okay.
And that's based on practicality. So, you know, if we're representing 95% of the population now, then I think that sounds pretty reasonable that the group is representative.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Amanda?
I was just going to say, perhaps we've got, it's something the agreed syllabus is desperately waiting for as well, is for the census information to come out about actually the Met, because actually, 11 years ago now, since the last lot of census information. And I think that will be interesting to perhaps look at when that comes out, to have a look at the diversity and how that's changed. And is Sacre then being represented by who now lives in Rutland as different from actually when it was 11 years ago. Unfortunately, from what I gather from looking for that information, it may not be due until the second half of this year.
No. Okay.
But
no,
it might be something to put in of October. Or something like that.
Yeah, to actually link that to the census. What about training? Do people feel, Andrew, do you want to?
So I was going back to representation. I don't know where we would have got 95% up from. I would imagine that we represent not much more than 50% of the population, because I think quite a large proportion of the population really couldn't care a damn. That's my view.
Okay.
They're just not involved in this sort of thing, and they don't really care about it.
No, but they should be. Are you saying they? So we don't represent them?
I don't know how you do that. How you deal with that problem?
Okay, Gerda, do you want to come back, and then Lucy?
Yeah, it was just a clarification. So I used 95 as an example, and whether they choose to want to be represented, it's really for us to say, if we took the census and we represented that proportion, as a Sacre, we've tried, and therefore it's reasonable. And just
we should try. We should try to represent exactly, but we will never succeed.
No. Okay.
It's impossible. It's impossible.
Lucy?
If there's any consolation, Andrew, it's a similar feeling about budget consultations. It affects everybody, but not necessarily the wealth of responses one would hope for. Just in the training element, my personal view from having sat on Sacre for a few years now is that there's always the opportunity to have training, in that I think that if I said to Amanda, oh, I really want X, Y, or Z, then I know that Amanda could furnish me with that opportunity. So I think there's the opportunity for training. What we don't have, which the panel may say absolutely not on your Nelly, and it perhaps links into the lively discussions, whether there's an opportunity to programme a meeting that is, if you like, is actually a sort of workshop training meeting, which might be quite interesting. And then I would suggest that that would definitely put us in the all singing and all dancing darker blue box.
Yeah. What are people's thoughts on? I mean, I'm not, for
I
extra
think that would be quite a
meetings,
good
but
idea.
actually, because I'm obviously the time in these meetings is limited, and what's people's views? That would people generally welcome an additional sort of discussion based stroke training meeting of Sacre in between some of the others? Is that a nod from everybody, depending on the topic, probably?
Yeah, I would.
Yes, I would.
Okay, Amanda,
Yes.
and then okay.
Yeah, I'm happy to put things together. I'm sure Lizzie and I can put, I can go back to Lizzie and other people I know. We can put some things together. I'm always putting training is part of what I do, all network meetings and things all year, and going into schools as well. I did go on to the Sacre. I did the Sacre training on world views, and it was okay. It was good. There's lots of people there. I just find actually when you've got something like 100 some people there, you kind of lose that. It's not the same as a one-to-one or face-to-face, or actually meetings like this where you can actually talk and see everybody, and it lost a bit of that. And I did find it very academic as well. And some of the terminology needed to perhaps be explained to some people. So I think sometimes they need to think about how they're presenting some of the stuff. But some of the stuff is very good, and it's very reasonable at £20 or free. I think the one I did was free.
Okay, so for the next meeting, I think perhaps if there's any suggestions of topics, or Amanda, you can have a think as well and discussion, and we could come with a suggested topic and some proposed dates to fit in an extra meeting. Good. The hand's gone down. James had his hand up. Gurdev had his hand up. James, do you want to come next? Or sorry.
No.
Yeah.
I was actually going to agree with what's just been said.
Okay.
And just add, of course, that Sacre have also put on some training for basic training for members or officers on the Sacre, which was very useful, I have to say. But I don't think many of us from Rutland attended that meeting. I don't think many of us did. I may be wrong. That may be because you know all about it. But again, I think the value of training, even from a sort of basic point of view, is that it actually helps us all to sort of be working from the same hymn sheet, pardon the pun. And I think that would be of enormous benefit to us, actually.
Yeah.
So I think that's good. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Can I just ask Lizzie, and then I'll go to Gerda, is there in the budget, is there anything that's put for training of Sacre members? Because even some of the national ones there is a small charge, even if they're on Zoom.
Yeah, I had a discussion with Jill, and we have got budget aside for training.
So if there's any ones that need to be paid for by this committee, we can actually, well, obviously we'll need to get it approved first of all.
Yeah, we'll get it approved.
And there's a limit to how many we can all do. But we have got some funds available to fund that. Gerda.
Maybe a question addressed pointed towards Amanda. Might we have a list which says, this is what we should know? It's almost a checklist of, from a training point of view, these are things we should know, and then these are additional bits of training that might be of interest. And so we can do a little bit of a self-audit. So if I'm honest, I haven't attended much in the way of training, but I've lost track of all the things that have changed over the years.
I think that's really good, actually. And I think actually that's something actually that I can use my time and extend to the other Sacres as well. I think that is actually something which is not just for your Sacre, for Rutland, it would be really useful for the other Sacres. And it might be actually, Lizzie, to kind of bring costs or times down, that we could actually join that training together and have do some joint training for ourselves, which is really good cross ideas. And while I did have my hand up to say, actually, also don't forget it's in the Sacre annual meeting as well, and lots of information's often, I know it's about £100. It's on the 23rd of May, and it's in Birmingham this time, so a lot easier to get to, and it's often some really good information is divulged, and given out, and some really good key speakers in that as well. So I think it's always it's quite important that every Sacre has at least one person going to that.
Yeah, James and I attended on the virtual one last year.
And,
Okay.
I'd like to support that comment that Amanda's just made, because having attended one of those annual meetings and conferences, just how much training took place on that day was really quite significant.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now I think that's a really useful discussion which has come out of looking at this self-evaluation. And so I'm getting the feeling that, are we thinking that we're developing or established on this one? With sort of any views? Regular, I think, yeah, we could probably, I think we're probably established on that one.
Yeah, I think we're established and we're looking for ways to continue to improve.
Yeah. Okay, can I just check with everybody? It's just gone 5:30. Are we allocated 2 hours for this meeting, Stacey?
Yes.
Yeah.
Chair.
Okay. Sorry, misinformation to Lucy previously about finishing by 6 o'clock. Okay, so we're still because obviously I want to make sure that we have got enough time to listen to the updates from monitoring at schools rather than. And there's still, let me just have a check. So we've done up to 1C. I think if we do another one of these, and then perhaps to make sure we've got enough time for the rest of the items on the agenda, we can come back to this at a future meeting, if that's okay, or if we've got more time at the end of the meeting after we finish those other items. So, so we've done 1C. So 1D was the how effective are the priorities and actions identified by Sacre in improving the experience of pupils in schools in terms of the local authorities improvement plan and the work of Sacre, and how that links together. I must admit, I found this a bit tricky in terms of, because I think that's an area where we're probably not very linked up. I don't know if anyone else has got any comments on that.
I don't think we know the answer.
Yeah, and it's not very clear what it means for local authorities development and improvement plan. In what?
I was interpreting
national projects. Yeah, sorry,
I beg your pardon. I was interpreting that as being, are our actions having a positive impact, and are we then learning from that and improving further still?
Yeah,
and
also national awareness of national initiatives, which I think we do get through.
Yeah, so I would say, Rosemary, I think our inputs are fine, but I don't know whether we know it's having a positive effect.
It's what effect it has.
Correct.
Yeah. How would we know that?
Would the local authority development plan specify targets, for example, for at 16 and at national examination level or key stage levels actually, and in particular at the national levels for both GCSEs and A levels, in religious education, for example? That might be a question to ask.
I don't know that it's down to that level of detail, but okay. Lizzie will probably help me on that.
Yeah, we do have targets that look at attainment and progress, but that's not drilled down to just individual subjects. It's an overall for all the schools, so it doesn't break down individually. So our targets wouldn't go into that much detail.
Okay, Lucy, did you want to?
Yeah, it's 2 points. It's slightly linked to the previous comments about endeavouring to get more teachers coming along to this, because actually having active teachers in the classroom now, they would probably be able to provide at the very least some anecdotal evidence, was my first point. My second point is that I think we are at the point of where we're gathering evidence, because I know, Gurdev, when we've looked at the annual report in previous years, you've always said, well, what is that positive impact on children's educational experience? which presumably is our raison d'etre. So that I think actually needs quite a lot of sort of exploring, and because we've got formal evidence such as any references to children's RE and Ofsted inspection reports, but I don't think we can answer that question at the moment because I can't see the evidence of, as it were, Sacre directly.
No, and I mean we have got a development plan for Sacre, but yeah, it's how that links in really with what actually happens beyond that.
Could there be a link in the training and development of RE specialists in the local authority plan, or even sort of more generally speaking in humanities, for example? And would Sacre be able to link in and help in that regard for the local authority?
I don't know on that one. Go, Dev.
I was going to add, if we think this is important, then it should be an amendment to the development plan, and we figure out how do we get that direct answer, whether it's proxy via teachers or direct from students.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So I think that one definitely needs some more work on it. I think I'm going to, how many more have we got to do? 1E, 1F, 1G. I think I'm going to pause on this now because to make sure we've got enough time for the rest of the agenda. But I think that's that was a really useful look at what we're doing, and what I think it really can help us focus on actually, you know, the impact of what we're doing, and how we actually provide evidence of what we really have to sort of show what we're doing. So we will come back to that. If I hope everyone find that quite useful, and I think there's some useful things come out of it. So we'll come back to that. And my thought was to do a few questions every meeting, and maybe there might be some sections where we want to add to this sort of discussion meeting, make it a topic for the discussion. The next point on the agenda, which I think we probably need to pick up in line, is the Sacre development plan, which we sort of extended it. I think it's fairly general and, well, sort of high level. One of the we said we'd carry forward things into 21-22. And we basically got ongoing management of the Sacre and the monitoring. Does anybody want to comment on that? Or one of them, we had a specific item on our view of recommendations that we might send on world views, etc., which we discussed, but we didn't actually. I think we missed the point of sending them in to the National Association at the time. Is there anyone got any specific comments on that? I think my inclination is to leave it as it stands for now, and then to have another an annual review, and we'll re-examine it then. Has anyone got any other comments? Amanda?
I'm just saying that's quite an important part of what we've been discussing in the new agreed syllabus, is actually looking at this worldviews and how that is reflected in the new agreed syllabus, and actually what actually worldviews means. As Peter's been looking into this as well, and it's in a way there is agreement and there's not agreement on what it actually means, and it means different things to different people. So actually it might be that actually that is answered in part of what's the work that the agreed syllabus conference does. Okay,
is everyone happy that we stick with it as it is, and then we'll have a meeting where we have a bit more of a focus on what should be our development plan for the following year? Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
Thank you. 9 was any training attended by, which comes on from our previous point, Sacre members. Has anyone been to anything since the last meeting?
Myself, I went on the worldviews training from the Sacre.
Okay, thank you.
And I did
And I think
actually
we'll
use it. Yeah, and I did use their actually I did use some of their slides, actually quite interesting. I've used some of them in some of the network meetings, and they'll be used in the next network meeting for Rutland as well, because it was quite a lot of discussion. I had a lot of discussion with teachers on that and their and their perceptions of it as well. It's quite an interesting discussion.
Okay, and I think if we have that on the agenda for all meetings, then we'll know, you know, to keep track of what training members have been to. And then the next item is update on the network meetings, which is from so that's over to you, Amanda.
Yeah, and it was lovely to see Rosemary there, so thank you for coming along and joining us. We only had 2 teachers, and I did ask about that, and some of it is actually they were commenting actually that they're finding, especially at that point in the autumn of not knowing what was happening in COVID, trying to actually do all the catch up and everything, they were finding they're exhausted, and they were often finding it very difficult to get out of school to attend training because they had so many other commitments, things to do, was the general idea which came through from that. One thing that I did take up on was actually that if we do anything like that, to make it quite short, so it's not too long, to kind of make it at 3:45 to perhaps 4:30, so actually they're not feeling as though it's impacting on their day and their well-being, and thinking about their well-being, which I think is really important, and have at least 3 things that they can take away, which I always do try to do in anything I do, that they have things that they can take away and develop and they can add to as well. We looked at Ofsted. I did a training session in Cambridgeshire on Ofsted and the Ofsted report, and what Ofsted were looking, what a deep dive would look like, and being ready for Ofsted in RE. And the meeting actually looked at that and went through some of the things, some of the questions they might, if you're an RE lead, what you might get asked, what kind of documentation, and also this is where it's come from about actually what Ofsted is looking for in different schools and what they're going to inspect, because before I did the Ofsted work, I needed to check that as well, actually. So it was saying, actually, if you're this type of school, they will look at this and comment on this, and just sharing some of the aspects of Ofsteds which have come through from Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, because as you're aware, you know, Rutland having such small schools, the Ofsted, you know, you don't necessarily have Ofsteds all the time, where in Cambridgeshire we're getting at least 1, 2, 3 a week, up to 5 a week, or we were doing before the Christmas break. So I've got a lot of reports to look at.
Okay, so when is your next network meeting?
The next meeting is, sorry, it's in, I need to look at I should have written this down, so apologies. It is in March.
Okay.
And it's going to be on the 24th of March.
Okay. So again, if you can just send the details around for anyone.
I do, and I'm actually, what I'm going to use that meeting as well, I'm going to actually offer that meeting open to my Cambridgeshire and Peterborough schools as well, because actually, hopefully, by having more schools there as well, the Rutland schools might really appreciate actually seeing things from other areas as well, and talking and that networking, actually, and expanding that networking. So I'm going to open it to my Peterborough and Cambridgeshire schools as well, and actually, and what we are going to be talking about is I want to actually talk, sorry, I did write it down, sorry, it's going to be on knowledge, sorry, miles and miles away. I'm actually going to look at what knowledge, what do you need? So when Ofsted ask, you know, why are you teaching this? Actually, I'm just going to go through the basics of that. It should be the basics of being a teacher, that you know exactly what you're teaching your children, why they need to know it and what they're being taught. But we're going to go through some of that and some of that of how to do that. And again, that's being actually looked at in the agreed syllabus as well. So we're taking that further.
Okay, thanks. Peter's got his hand up. Before I go into Peter, actually, Bjorn, as an RE teacher, and I'm sorry, can I just ask, which authority area do you teach in?
That is Leicester.
Okay, so do you have similar network meetings for
my school would have. I personally do not no.
Yeah, okay. In terms of, I'm just wondering about the benefits, because it was disappointing that we only had two attendees, And I know there's all sorts of pressures on teachers.
Yeah, actually, it was actually one of the teachers who was there I haven't seen for a while, so actually that was really good, that actually
good.
she felt as though she could come along, and that was really nice, and actually that really benefited seeing somebody who we haven't, and I did have apologies from a couple of other teachers, so I think we would have had more. So actually when you look at the percentage wise against the number of schools, it actually doesn't look too bad really.
Okay.
It's not too bad, but yeah, it would be nice to have a few more.
Peter, do you want to put your hand
Yeah,
up?
I'd like to ask if we could have a register of those who attended network meetings, which schools attended. I think that would help us with our monitoring, and probably know which schools then we need to encourage a little more if we could.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I'm happy. Is that okay with you, Lizzie? Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I'll send that out. I keep a list, I keep all the emails, obviously who I've sent it to, and I'm happy to do that, and I'll send that by Stacey.
Thank you very much.
And I don't know if you want to do that every meeting, or if you want to do it in a yearly.
I think a yearly would be sufficient, because it just gives us a flavour of which schools are actually participating.
Okay, I'll do it as an academic year.
Yeah, Lizzie.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention attendance in training. I think that's across a lot of areas at the moment, and we've had quite a few schools struggling with staffing at the moment because of the rise in COVID cases. So I know a lot of teachers have come to me personally and said, I can't attend because we've got 4 teachers off today. So they're finding it really hard to step away from lessons. So I don't think it's because of willing, they do want to come, it's just under circumstances they're finding it quite hard.
Yeah, okay. James.
Oh yes, just a question for Amanda. Do you see this network as being an opportunity to perhaps strengthen a community of RE teachers and help to develop them as teachers in their training and supporting them in their leading the subject? Is that one of the purposes of this meeting?
But yeah, the purpose it is actually, it's open to any teachers. It's even open to if a TA is teaching RE. It's open to anybody who is actually teaching RE within Rutland, actually in all the areas I do. And there's always a training focus. Actually, there's always a specific theme or training focus, which I usually pick very within about a month, 6 weeks of actually doing the network meeting. So it's very relevant, it's very current, it's what's happening now, and that's why I'm choosing knowledge at the moment, because I'm getting lots of inquiries about developing and looking at how you can actually show knowledge. So that's the reason for that one. Yeah, and it is actually about then going back and actually sharing resources, sharing ideas, and actually it's actually teachers often find it really useful just to talk and say, well, actually, I've done that. This is a really good idea to tackle this. And it's just actually that idea of actually there's people out there who can help and are in the same situation as you. It's that support as well as training.
Thank you. Do you actually pick up where there might be gaps as well in provision?
It depends on how much they're willing to share. Sometimes they will then follow on. People will follow on if they feel necessary, if they want to. My email's always open there if anybody needs any help or any gaps, and they know they can always come to me at any time, and I will try and find out an answer for you. In one of my other areas, I had a question before Christmas, and it took me a month to get the answer, but eventually we got there.
Okay, thank you. Megan.
I just wanted to reiterate what Lizzie said about the pressures on schools at the moment in terms of things, but also that because of the size of our schools, lots of people have a dual role. You know, I sit as RE lead in my school, but I have 7 other areas of responsibility, and that's before you put head teacher in there. So there are lots of us who then, when you say we've got the training, and yes, we want to prioritise this, but we have, you know, if you've got 4 or 5 things, you're trying to pick which one you're going to. Sometimes it's something else, a child protection or something has to take priority of that. And it's worth noting, if we are going to have some kind of register, that one of the things we do as schools, particularly those of us who are working together in a trust, is that we cascade back to between
Yeah.
each who do
Yeah,
actually
so you
have-
don't need somebody from every single school.
Yeah, so if I wasn't there, I know that somebody from another trust school would feed back to me things that they felt were important to share. So, you know, I think it's being aware that that's happening as well behind the scenes.
Okay, thank you. James, is that a hand from before, or is that a new hand?
The hand has gone down.
All right, thank you. Amanda?
Yeah, I just want to say actually, what Megan's saying actually, and this is the problem with the trust that I know Megan's in, you've got about 10 schools. So that takes up, if when you actually put that actually against actually the 21 primary schools, you are half. So actually the numbers we're getting are really good, but it would be nice to have some schools from the non-church schools, from the academies, the non-church academies out there, and I think they are the ones that we need to target as well, to make sure that actually their provision is what they're doing, and they're getting support for their provision as well, that they know the support is there. Some have previously actually said they have been there, but what I'll do is I'm not going to give teachers names. I will just write down the school and the trust.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thank you. The next item is the monitoring of RE in schools from Lizzie, if you'd like to update us on that.
And did you want to pick this up?
I'll do this.
Conversation we had earlier.
Lizzie and I had a conversation on this earlier this morning about actually the monitoring, and we thought at the moment monitoring is quite difficult because actually schools, there's been very few Ofsted inspections within Rutland. I think there's only been one, hasn't there, Lizzie? And at the moment I see a lot more, and what we're gathering is from Ofsted that actually they're not being very helpful in what they're saying. At the beginning of the academic year, at the end of last year, the beginning of this academic year, they were commenting on very much specific subjects, not just maths and reading. And now I've read over the last week about 11 or 12 Ofsted reports from right at the back end of last year from those inspections. And then now,
thanks, Lucy.
Then now actually only really commenting on maths and reading, and just a very cursory to say, yes, we looked at another subject. We did a deep dive in this subject and that subject, but not actually saying what they found, or if the teaching, if some of the curriculum areas lacked knowledge. There was very little information as to why. Why are they lacking knowledge? Where is the gaps? And they're not actually pinpointing those in any of their reports. And the Section 8 reports, and the Section 8 report is the one-day monitoring visit, are very lacking in detail. And it's something we're picking up. So monitoring is going to be quite difficult until if they're going to change some of this, and until you actually perhaps Rutland begin to get a few more Ofsted inspections. So Lizzie and I were wondering if this is perhaps something we need to have. I know it's part of your remit as Sacre. Perhaps we need to bring it down to not having it every meeting unless there's some, perhaps having it once a year, twice a year, unless there's something really important to say that's come out. And it's up. I was just wondering that, because there's not a lot to actually comment on at the moment. And we've done the website review, and really we need to let schools settle down at the moment.
Yeah, okay. I think that's fair enough. I mean, the fact that we got it on the agenda, it might be that there's just nothing to report. I usually prefer to have something on the agenda, and then it's a sort of a reminder. And even if it's what you've just said.
We had a school who did it. I had a school who had a deep dive in RE, and we got their Ofsted report through on Friday, and they didn't actually mention anything about the subject. They didn't mention actually what they saw. I'm actually now working with the school. It's a good school. They're a good school, but actually the RE lead actually just come to me and say, I think I need to work on this. But none of this was mentioned in the RE report. And you're thinking the only reason we know they did a deep dive is because it's the LA were involved. And actually when you read further down the Ofsted reports, we did a deep dive in this subject. You're thinking, well, if you've done one of those, you're going to be writing a report in May. As one of the part of this review, why aren't you telling us more? Because actually it's really be really useful to find this information out now, so perhaps we can go to schools and say, are you working on this? This is some of the things that they're finding. Do you need some help on this generally? but we're not getting that level of information.
Okay.
History seems to have lots of deep dives, I have discovered.
Okay. Has anyone got any questions about that or comments? Okay.
I was going to say I'd love to accompany teacher doing a deep dive, or perhaps the education representative doing a deep dive in the school. Although I am working full time, and it would be a bit difficult for me to get the time, but it's the sort of thing I would love to do.
Right, okay. Put that on the radar then, in case there's an opportunity. Thank you. There's actually then only two more items on the agenda, obviously left too much time of any other urgent business. So can I just take a poll of everyone? I think I know we have got, my feeling is actually perhaps we leave it there today rather than go back to the self-evaluation. What's everyone's feeling? Is everyone want to do another half an hour of self-evaluation? Please put your hand up. And if you think I think we did quite a bit, so my inclination is we'll leave another section for next time, but I'm willing to be overruled by the members of this committee.
I wouldn't dream of trying to overrule you on this matter.
On this matter, is that okay with everybody? Yeah, and I'd encourage you to have a look at this the self-evaluation, so that we can then have a further discussion next time, which I thought was useful. Is there any other urgent business from anybody?
Not from me. Just actually that Peter, I will get Laura. I will get you added to Laura's list for the agreed syllabus, and to make sure that you start getting anything previously that you might need to see as well sent over to you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and then the date of the next meeting is the 8th of March, 2022. Stacey's I can run through it. Everything's okay with you, but if there's anything, I can run through that later with you. Okay. Right. Thank you all very much indeed. Thank you, Bjorn, for attending. And yes, it's usually at 4:30 on a Tuesday. Seems to be a time and a day of the week that works for people. James, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, may I just wish everybody a happy new year, and I hope
thank you.
Your new year brings you many blessings and happiness.
Yes, and to you, and thank you, Andrew, and nice to see you as well. Okay, right, we'll see you in a month, and there'll be some information and emails circulated in the meantime. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night. Bye.
Bye.